Hello and welcome to the Bundesliga show, a special edition, AFCON edition today, Peter. Yeah, it sounds a little bit random, doesn't it? But we are here, we cover everything football related on this channel. And as promised, we are going to bring you this watch along of the AFCON final between Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire, or Ivory Coast for you English speakers out there. So yeah, hoping for a few African guys to check in and let us know what you think today as well. That'd be fantastic. But yeah, Peter, I mean, obviously it's only two minutes till kickoff already. The Ivory Coast national anthem is currently being sung on my screen. So Peter, any predictions before we start? Anything to look out for this game today?
Well, if this tournament has taught me anything, it's that one bets against or one writes off Cote d'Ivoire at one's own peril. Good God, have they come back from the brink. We can get into the story of their tournament in a little bit. So I believe that they have another miracle in store. I don't believe they're the favorites in this one, but I think that, and I can get into a little bit more detail about their tournament later, but I believe that Cote d'Ivoire will take this 2-1. Whether it's an added extra time or in 90 minutes. How about yourself?
Ooh, I think I'm going to go for it. This is going to go all the way. I'm confident this is going all the way today, guys. Yeah, for me, I think it's going to be 1-1 after 120 minutes, and then I'm going to go Cote d'Ivoire on penalty kicks as well. Yeah, I'm similar to you, Peter. It's been a fairy tale run. It really has, which has included a record defeat, a record home defeat, getting through the group stage with the proverbial skin of their teeth. Last-minute equalizers in the knockout phases, penalty shootout wins. Wow, it really has been an absolute roller coaster for the host nation. Obviously, for Nigeria, it's been a little bit more straightforward, but they've also had their kind of, close calls as well, no less in the semi-final against South Africa too. But Peter, before we start, let's just have a look at the team lineups. Anything that stands out for you? Let's focus mostly on Nigeria first. Anyone to look out for here, and also any kind of Bundesliga names we recognize?
Well, you can tell me a little bit more about Ademola Lookman, who was a former Leipzig professional, but he was loaned out several times. He played for Leicester for a while, did he not? So you can probably tell me, because he played roughly 100 Premiership games, only 22 games in the Bundesliga. Obviously, entering this tournament, Bundesliga enthusiasts, Bundesliga writers such as myself, thought that I would be writing about Victor Boniface. But that injury, of course, precluded him from taking part in the tournament. We thought that maybe Leverkusen's Nathan Tella would be called up to the Nigerian squad to replace him. That didn't happen. So, there were no Bundesliga players to report on in the current Nigerian team. That is the absolute inverse in the Cote d'Ivoire team, which part of their fairy tale includes the fact that when they were standing on the brink of elimination after the group phase, neither Borussia Dortmund striker Sebastian Haller nor Bayer Leverkusen defender Odilon Kosunu had played a single minute of action under the previous coach, the French coach, Gasset, who was sacked after the group phases. So Emers Faye, who is an interim trainer, has brought Cote d'Ivoire back from the brink. And in doing so, he's not only helped them knock out the defending champion Senegal in the round of 16, come from behind to score 2 short-handed goals to punch through into the semifinals. Good God, it's just I don't know what to say. That was against Mali in the quarterfinals, and then of course they beat Silas's Congo in the semis. But both Kosunu and Haller have proved important factors in this Cote d'Ivoire revival, and both of them are in their starting lineup tonight. Odilon Kosunu is right up there at center back alongside the former Eintracht Frankfurt star and very, very popular Evan Ndika. And Sebastian Haller, who scored the game-winning goal against Congo, is right up there next to Max Gradel and Dringa. So this is, the Cote d'Ivoire fairy tale has come mostly from this interim trainer, Faye, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but also from 2 Bundesliga players. Just amazing. I mean, what more could you ask for? I hope everybody's looking at these scenes there at the Alassane Ouattara Stadium there in Azerbaijan. It is glorious, 60,000 strong. We've got the 2013 Continental Champions, those are the Nigerian Super Eagles, and the 2015 Continental Champions, Les Elephants of Cote d'Ivoire. squaring off against one another. Good Lord. Is this, I mean, for Africa enthusiasts, for Bundesliga enthusiasts, this is amazing.
Yeah, it really is incredible. It literally looks as though there's not a single Nigeria fan in the stadium from what I can see. They're just the entire stadium is packed out in that famous orange of Les Elephants. It's just amazing, isn't it? I mean, I've actually been following some of the pre-match coverage from some BBC reporters over in Africa, and they say that Abidjan, where the capital is, where the match is being played, is just electric today, basically. Like, you'll never see anything like it. Like, every single person in the entire city is supporting this team, and obviously apparently they're very confident as well. The kind of feelings over there are that, you know, they've kind of overcome so much adversity in this tournament that it's like God's gift that they're going to win the tournament this year, because, you know, I mean, you're never going to see a more crazy route to the final. Basically, just as we get underway, just about a minute on my clock. Peter, whereabouts are you on yours?
I'm at 57 seconds, so we might be synced up this evening. We're both watching on
almost, yeah. I think just 5 or 6 seconds difference, so that's pretty nice. Just as a decent ball there coming in from the Nigeria forward towards Osimhen, who obviously is a man that we need to mention, really, isn't he? Because he's probably the most high-profile player on the pitch at the moment. Very close to joining Bayern Munich in the summer as well. Let's not forget that. You know, Scudetto winner last year with Napoli, their first Scudetto for over 30 years as well. So he's a hero in Italy. He'd be an even bigger hero in Nigeria if they were to bring that trophy back to West Africa, although obviously Ivory Coast is also West Africa too. But yeah, absolutely massive game here tonight. Yeah, I mean, obviously, AFCON finals, Peter, they don't always have the most goals. They're often quite cagey affairs, aren't they? I mean, few people will forget the match that was billed the Salah versus Mane final between Senegal and Egypt last time, which, to the delight of many African fans, was won by Senegal, of course. Peter, do you think we can expect more goals in this one? Obviously, a lot of high-profile players on display, a lot of players from top 5 leagues. Do you think we'll see a high-scoring final potentially here?
I've never really seen a high-scoring final, with the exception, I believe, the Cameroon Egypt final was not as cagey back in 2017. I began covering this tournament in 2013, and that was the year that the Super Eagles won in the final under the late great Stephen Keshi, wonderful trainer, wonderful national team trainer. Unfortunately, left us far before his time, and they beat the Stallions of Burkina Faso. It was just 1-0. And when Cote d'Ivoire won the final in 2015, that went all the way into, I believe it was a 9-round penalty shootout.
Yeah,
a lot of
I remember that one.
Yeah, in 2015. A lot of people may remember that one as Didier Drogba had already retired from the national team at that time, but he posted a video of his family watching the shootout there in the capital of Cote d'Ivoire, and it's one of, if no one's ever seen it, I highly recommend looking it up. It's one of the best things that was ever shared on the internet. So yeah, it's going to be a physical game. It's going to be a little bit of a cagey affair. Well, you never know, of course, but these two teams have actually already met in the group phase, and Nigeria eked out a slender, a narrow 1-0 victory. That was the beginning of the unraveling for Cote d'Ivoire in this tournament. Just prior to that historic defeat that you mentioned earlier, that they suffered in the final group stage game. But yeah, and Balam brings up that Zambia won this tournament too. That was in 2012. There were tournaments in consecutive years, 2012 and 2013, because they wanted to switch up the 2-year cycle. And actually, when Mark and I went to go see a women's game in Fürth, we met a Zambian guy. You remember that?
Yeah, that was class. Yeah. Well, it was against Zambia, wasn't it? Let's not forget that, the Zambia women's team.
Absolutely, but we met him, and he was talking about, he was here in Germany. He was he worked for he trained actual German youths and things like that. And he was here in 2012 when the Copper Bullets took the AFCON title, and was telling us about how he was doing a caravan. It was just him down the streets of Nuremberg. Doing it all by himself. But I mean, look, football is everything in Africa. I can tell you, as somebody who lived there briefly in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. I mean, to experience a game in the stands with Africans is to experience not only football but life on an entirely different level. And oh my God, just whenever a country wins AFCON, it's traditional that the head of state in the country gives everybody the day off tomorrow. So whoever wins this, whether it's Nigeria or Cote d'Ivoire, nobody has to show up to work tomorrow. It's quite all right.
Yeah, I say give them the week off if it's Ivory Coast after the kind of drama they've been through. Yeah, but yeah, obviously just a few people checking in as well. Good to see some people in the comments as well. We got BVB David. Yeah, just club football really, but big up still. Yeah, Erin as well. Yeah, hi guys, can't wait for the finale. Yeah, neither can we. Peter, a good question for you as well. Are you staying up to watch the Super Bowl as well? Yeah, I think I won't be. I'm not enough of an American football fan to justify staying up until 4 or 5 a.m. But what about you, Peter? Are you going to stay up for it?
No, I won't. Actually, I mean, my late mother was Italian from Philadelphia. So the Philadelphia Eagles are no longer in the Super Bowl or in the NFL playoff picture. So I have my Nigerian Super Eagles to watch. And after that, no, I don't believe I'll be staying up for the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Where is the final tonight, by the way? Do you know which city is being staged in tonight?
The Super Bowl? I don't know.
Yeah.
Some American.
As you can see, we're not really big American football fans on this channel. Yeah, I mean, maybe some of you guys can give us more info on that particular point. But yeah, thanks for the question anyway. Yeah, a few tips in as well. A few people tipping Nigeria, actually. Yeah, I think we both gone for the Ivorians, but David thinks 2-1 Nigeria because they've got better forwards. Rory as well checking in thinks Nigeria to win and Loopman to bag, obviously. Premier League, yeah, he was always good in the Premier League, let's say that much. Mm-hmm. Obviously, a bit of a kind of bust, really, in the Bundesliga, wasn't he? Like, he never quite managed to hit the heights at that level. Yeah, and one from Balam as well. Yeah, Zambia once won the tournament. Yeah, of course he did. I remember watching that one as well. I mean, I'm the same as you, Peter. I've always been a bit of an AFCON fan, and the fact that it always comes in January, February, when there's bad weather outside, and you can always watch this great tournament in Africa. So it's always been a tournament I've enjoyed as well. But yeah, as for the game, actually, Ivory Coast have started by far the better. They've already had a couple of chances early doors. I think it was Adingra has already had a strike over the young man who's actually from Brighton. He's actually a Brighton Hove Albion player, but made his name at Union Saint-Galoise, who we actually covered on this show once, Peter, as well. We did a watch-along when they played Leverkusen last year as well. I don't know if you remember that one. But yeah, Brighton and Hove Albion, a team that love a good young player over in England as well. So he's had the best chance so far. Interesting to see Serge Aurier as well playing, because he's another Premier League stalwart. Tottenham and currently of Nottingham Forest as well. He's a player who's going to, cause some damage. And I think he's the captain as well, isn't he, of this Ivory Coast side. So, a player I think the Ivory Coast side is quite mixed in my eyes. You've got some real top players, the likes of Kosunu, Haller, but then you've also got some, more like abstract kind of players like Konan, who actually plays over in Saudi Arabia as well. He's part of the obviously the famous Saudi league, but he actually got in the team of the year in Saudi as well. So he's going to be interesting one to watch too. But Peter, what have you made of the game, and maybe a bit about the tactics so far?
Well, I mean, okay. I mean, you'll have to let me know when you want me to go into a little bit more detail about Cote d'Ivoire's tournament. But what the interim trainer has been doing is he's been running a 4-3-3. With Haller as the main center forward, and we've actually already seen Haller get a halfway decent chance of a service. Interesting hair arrangement that Sebastian Haller has going. I don't. I've never quite. I don't. When did he have time to grow all of that hair? Perhaps while he was warming the bench for Borussia Dortmund. He has not played a lot for Dortmund this year. He's been hurt, so I haven't seen a great deal of him. It's funny to think that a year ago with Haller, we were celebrating his return from testicular cancer. It was on World Cancer Day, and they even had the halfway circle in Dortmund sort of repainted as a tumor. And he had a good second half to last season, but I mean, with the arrival of Nicolas Füllkrug and Haller's injuries, we've not seen him play a lot for Dortmund at all this season. So presumably that's when he's had time to grow all that hair. But in any case, it was Cotonou was moved to the bench by the previous French trainer in the group phase. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this, neither Haller nor Cotonou had played a single minute of action when Cote d'Ivoire were on the brink of elimination after the group phase. And they got through the group phase. Skin of their teeth is an understatement. I mean, they got through the freaking group phase as the last third place team allowed to progress in 2014 tournaments on 3 points with the goal differential that they had. For them to get through was an absolute miracle. I don't know if there was some sleight of hand, a little payola going on under the table or something like that, but they barely through. So Cotonou, who actually started every and played maximum minutes in the previous tournament in 2021, which was actually January of 2022. This is the 2023 AFCON, even though we're in 2024. But so he was benched, and it didn't look like he was going to get his role back. And since then, under the Fay, the interim trainer, he's played maximum minutes alongside the former Eintracht Frankfurt star Evan Ndika, and the central defense has been really quite good. So yeah, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward 4-3-3. This trainer, I don't think he's ever trained a team at this level before. I mean, he was thrown in with the hopes of the country on his shoulders, and he didn't really have time to work out tactics at all. I mean, he just took some of the players that were benched under the previous coaching regime, put a straightforward 4-3-3 out there, and there were instances in which it almost didn't work, but they have made it work, including that comeback against Senegal, in which they scored 2 goals shorthanded to knock out the defending champions. Or no, excuse me, that was Mali.
That was Mali, I think, when in the quarterfinal.
Yeah, my bad. It's I generate a lot of work, so and they do happen. Anyways, so as I was mentioning earlier, the Bundesliga fairy tale is part of the Cote d'Ivoire fairy tale. You'll have more Germans are going to be rooting for Cote d'Ivoire and are going to be thinking that Cote d'Ivoire have a chance to take this. Obviously, what you have in Cote d'Ivoire is you have French internationals who switched allegiances when it became apparent that they didn't have much of a chance of playing for the French national team. Haller is one example of that, as is Ndika, as is, I think, Max Gradel, maybe, if memory serves. And then in Nigeria, you have a lot of guys who are actually English. No, Ola Aina is he's from England, born in England. What about this other kid, Trost Akon? He's a good defender. I really think he's a good defender.
Yeah, he's had an interesting career as well. Obviously, the captain for Nigeria, he actually played a number of years in England for Watford as well. And then he played also for Udinese as well. He was part of that kind of the group. I think there's an Italian guy, Puzzo, and he owns Watford, Granada, and Udinese. So he's kind of done his kind of trip around that. That circuit, so to speak. But most of his career success has come in Nigeria. I mean, obviously, he's made himself to the captain of Nigeria. He's had a fantastic tournament, actually, from what I've watched. He's been absolutely superb. Yeah, I've really enjoyed watching him play. And yeah, it is going to be an interesting game, this one. But so far, it's been all Ivory Coast, basically. And a great shot just before of Ivorian legend Didier Drogba in the crowd as well, wearing his Ivory Coast shirt, as just about everyone in the stadium is, to be honest. It's been dominant, really dominant from Cote d'Ivoire so far. And the Nigerians are really struggling to get their foot on the ball at the minute. And let's talk a little bit more about Nigeria. So, they're managed by Jose Pereira, actually. And if you look at his list of teams that he's managed just about every club in the world, I think, really. Like, he's one of those, like, to say he's a journeyman is an understatement, basically. Like, he's managed clubs from Rapid Bucharest in Romania, Panathinaikos in Greece, Al Hilal in the Middle East as well. Even Venezuela, he even did the Venezuela job as well. So he's been here, there, and everywhere. He's rolled up at Nigeria and he's done pretty well. Let's be honest. He's got them to the final. In my opinion, they've been relatively confident, to be honest, making it to the final. Apart from the semi-final against South Africa, where they conceded that last-minute penalty. I mean, that was a drama in itself as well, because they got the second goal from Osimhen. It looked like they were cruising to a 2-0 comfortable win. The VAR goes back and gives chalks the goal off and gives South Africa a penalty, which is a pretty crazy moment, which they converted, but eventually the Nigerians got through on penalties. But before that, you know, they've been known for tight defense more than anything. A lot of that is because of Calvin Bassey, who for me has been one of the players of the tournament as well. I've really enjoyed him. Currently at Fulham, but he also played for Rangers in that final when Frankfurt turned them over a few years ago. Had a failed spell at Ajax, the kind of intermediary season, but then ended up at Fulham and has done really well with them as well. He's highly rated in the Premier League and highly rated in this Nigerian side too. I think obviously Alex Iwobi is worth a mention as well. Obviously a Premier League stalwart as well of Arsenal, Everton, and currently of Fulham as well, ironically. 2 Fulham players lining up here for the Nigerians. But yeah, go on, Peter. I know you've been wanting to tell us all afternoon. So go on, tell us about this, a bit more about this Ivory Coast run, because it has been crazy, hasn't it?
Well, I think that Nigeria, I mean, you know, there's so many legends on both of these teams. I mean, if you look back on history, and a lot of Premiership stars. I mean, the 2013 Nigerian side that won, that was Victor Moses was on that.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I always called him John Obi Mikel, but is it Mikel John Obi?
In England, we call him John Obi Mikel as well. Yeah, he was a legend. Yeah,
absolutely. And then, of course, the Cote d'Ivoire team that won in 2015 had the Toure brothers, Yaya and Kolo, both played for that team. You know, there's going to be a special place in German hearts for Nigerian national football program, because Bertie Vogts managed it for a while, and then after I think Keshi had 2 coaching regimes. I mean, Keshi was just an awesome coach. But Gernot Rohr came and coached them for a few years as well, because unfortunately, after they won the 2013 tournament, they failed to qualify for the next 2 AFCONs, and it was really a mess. It was a low point for Super Eagle football. But Rohr got them back on track, and they did well. They did reasonably well. Nice. So it's very nice to see them back in the final again. I don't think they've ever had a Portuguese trainer before. No, that's new. But the Cote d'Ivoire tournament, okay, so it shakes down like this, right? They did really well. I mean, they got off to a cracking start. It was beautiful scenes as AFCON kicked off, and they rolled over Guinea-Bissau 2-0, and Dika looked great. And then they lost to Nigeria 1-0 in the second group phase. Now or the second group stage fixture, I should say. Now, what happened in the final group stage fixture is, as you mentioned, this was a historic defeat. They lost to Equatorial Guinea 4-0 in front at this very stadium that we're watching right now. And I mean, this was the worst defeat that a hosting nation had ever suffered at the AFCON. The AFCONs, this is the 34th edition of the Africa Cup of Nations. This is one of the oldest continental championships in the world. Never has a hosting nation suffered that sort of humiliation. So in order for them to get through as a third place team in these 24 team tournaments, as we all know, you need 4 points to realistically clinch safety by getting through. Cote d'Ivoire went by as the final third place team allowed to get through on 3 points with a -3 goal differential. All of the permutations had to work out their way on the final day. Group stage play for the final 2 groups kicked off. Essentially, they needed goalless draws between South Africa, Tunisia, Namibia, and Mali, and they needed Zambia to lose, and Tanzania and Congo also to draw. So that's 4 things that needed to happen in order for them to get through. And I was reporting on the match, as I report on all of the AFCON matches with Bundesliga players and things like that involved for Bully News. And I was driving myself cross-eyed trying to figure out the permutations of the ball on the final day. This is the case. I think when I finally published the article, I had to revise it like 5 or 6 times because even I was incredibly confused as to how this happened. So they get out of the group by the skin of their teeth. Understatement. I don't know if there's a better metaphor. Or is that, nice little...
just Max Gradle with a big chance there, probably the chance of the match, yeah.
The match there, where he has a bicycle kick there off of a corner. Was it? No, it was not Hilaire. It was Aurier who extended it to him. But it was
Max Gradle who had the effort, I believe.
Yeah, headed towards the side. Artistic effort, but always headed towards the side net. So we get to the round of 16, in which they do have to face the defending champs, Senegal. And Habib Diallo scores in the 4th minute for Senegal. Côte d'Ivoire are trailing 1-0 as we have 4 minutes of normal time remaining. They are finally, they're really fighting for that equalizer hard. And they do finally get it in the form of a penalty in the 86th minute. It's Franck Kessie who's able to convert. And they go into added extra time. No more goals. We go to the shootout. Haller is he's off the bench, logging his first minutes of the tournament. Comes in, converts from the spot. It's actually a former Mainz guy, Moussa Niakate, who misses. The only one who misses for Senegal, and Sadio Mane and the defending champs are eliminated. We get to the semis, the match that I confused earlier. That was the one in which they were playing Mali, a very, very good Eagle side. An excellent Eagle side with 2 Bundesliga players on them, including RB Leipzig's Amadou Haidara and the Hoffenheim player that a lot of us Bundesliga enthusiasts have been very, very interested in, but he's fallen out of favor, Yadi Samaseku. And he did so well for Mali at the AFCON that he actually did get a new loan out to Spain. I think it was Granada. So anyways, Kosunu, our Leverkusen man, gets red carded or gets sent off on double yellows in the 43rd minute. And Mali, Cote d'Ivoire are shorthanded. Mali score in the 71st minute. They're exhausted. They've been playing with 10 men for 40 minutes. Mali score in the 71st. It looks like it's over. Cote d'Ivoire can't do anything. In the 1st minute of second half injury time, shorthanded, they equalize on a play out of nowhere. Simon Adringa, the Brighton and Hove Albion man that I believe you mentioned is on loan with Saint-Gilloise. So, okay, fine. They equalize. We still got 30 minutes to play. They're still short. Mali, obviously they're playing for penalties at this point. They're not trying to score. But at 120 plus 2, Umar Diakite scores just when it's about, the last minute of play, just when it's about to go down to a penalty shootout. So they scored 2 shorthanded goals. They've been shorthanded since the 43rd minute. And they scored 2 shorthanded goals to knock out Mali in the semis. And we're not quite finished yet. Excuse me, that was the quarters, not the semis. That was the quarters. We're not quite finished yet.
We've got the DR Congo semi-final, yeah.
Yes, the DR Congo semi-finals, in which Sébastien Haller, as we've mentioned before, scores the game-winning goal. And that was against a Congo side that more or less looked superior throughout, I have to say. Although, there was some questionable tactical moves by the Congolese trainer, Sébastien Desabre. Don't necessarily have to get on that. The point is, we're here now with Cote d'Ivoire on this miraculous run that is just like anything. And the AFCON is known for drama and great stories and all of this stuff. But this is just simply like anything, unlike anything that. And I've covered, all of these AFCON tournaments since 2013. I've never seen anything like this. To write the story of this, I was so excited to write the story about this Friday morning. Luckily, my Bully News colleague, Rune, was pointing out that there were like typos in my headline because it was going so fast with all of this And there were 2 typos in my freaking headline. I apologize. You know, I mean, when you do this amount of work, it's when you're writing as much and you're watching as much and you're doing all of this stuff, it happens sometimes. But wow, what else can I say? Yeah, this is amazing. This is amazing, and I think they just have to take it. They simply have to take it somehow. I mean, we've not seen much worth commentating on right now. If we had, Mark would have interrupted me and talked about it. But so, I mean, right now, you know, a lot of head tennis, a lot of midfield play. There's a lot of football ahead of us this evening, and this is going to be. Oh, look, we've already got tempers flaring as well.
Osimhen is furious by the look of it. Yeah,
furious, absolutely.
Yeah, I think these, as we mentioned before, these finals can be a little bit scrappy sometimes. And I would say Ivory Coast have had probably 3-4 half chances, but nothing like really, really major. Yeah. And I think Nigeria have yet to really get going in this match, I would say. They've had a few free kicks, but nothing has come of it. They've been caught offside a few times, you know. I mean, I really like Truce Akong as the captain as well. He always seems to calm things down. He's got a very high level of profession. You know, he's very, very professional player. I can definitely see why they've selected him as captain for sure. I mean,
I've been exceptionally impressed with him. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think if Nigeria win this, for me, he's got to be player of the tournament, to be honest. I think he's been superb through the tournament. I mean, I'm not sure when do they actually announce a player of the tournament for this? I guess after it, but he's got to be in the running for player of the tournament, especially if Nigeria win this, because as you say, it's his professionalism and also just the way he conducts himself. And obviously the quality he brings to the pitch too in centre back, but he's also scored goals, key penalties, and he's just been quality throughout the tournament. Just as this free kick from Lookman, who's been another key player for the Nigerians, comes in, but it's easily headed out, I think, by Kosunu there in the end. Or Ndika actually it was. And another free kick that the referee does seem to be blowing up very, very quickly against the Nigerians, to be fair here. It seems to be I mean, they've conceded an absolute hatful of free kicks in this first half so far, both offensively and defensively. And wow, look at the manager, Pereiro. He looks absolutely furious. Like, he's clearly not happy about the number of free kicks being given against his team here. And the referees are already going over to Pereiro, the Nigeria coach. I think he could be getting sent away from the touchline here, potentially. It's going to be a yellow card for the coach there, from what I can see. But to be honest, I can understand it from an extent, because I'm pretty sure 90% of the free kicks in this game have gone towards the host. So, yeah, I can see why he's a little bit annoyed. But, yeah, just a good question coming from Balam as well. Do you feel as though there's more pressure on Ivory Coast being the host nation? Peter, what do you reckon to that one?
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, I covered Sebastian Haller's press conference in an article for Bully News yesterday. You know, he was conducting a press conference alongside Faye, the interim head coach, and he talked about the pressure. I mean, for him to come into this tournament cold, not having played a single minute in the group phase, and convert a penalty in his first match back, lead the line as part of this 4-3-3 in the comeback victory there. And then score that goal against Congo. I mean, this has been, you know, for Haller, think about the last 18 months that he's had with the testicular cancer diagnosis. That was a very, very serious diagnosis. He did have to undergo chemotherapy. He did, as a matter of fact, lose all of his hair, which is probably, now that I think of it, the reason that he hasn't cut it. Because after going through that, yeah. Actually, yeah, we probably will see, as Rory asks as well, will we see a few red cards today? You see that quite a bit in the AFCON. These are, I mean, the emotions are so high at the AFCON that it's really just, I mean, good God. I mean, that Kosunu red or double yellows that we saw him sent off on, I mean, you could just see the raw adrenaline pumping. I mean, really, honestly, these players are, for them, it's different than club football. I don't want to say that club football is more or less important to African nationals, but when they're back home and when they meet the fans and when they hear the fans cheering them on with their trademark chants and songs, By the way, West Africa is not really into the vuvuzelas, but you do hear them a little bit. That's more of a South African thing, in case anybody's wondering. But I mean, really, and the devotion of the fans as well. I mean, something that I recommend watching Africa football because, what other type of football you're going to be able to watch where fans they completely body paint themselves. The most famous example of this is the famous Cote d'Ivoire Bambo, and this guy, I mean, he shows up in full Ivorian body paint at every game, has like this hat that, I mean, the thing is, I don't want to, you wouldn't want to be seated behind him in a stadium. It'd be like sitting behind Atlas, the Greek god, or something who's got like the world on his shoulders.
I think one of the things that I love about the African fans is the dancing as well. I think I mentioned this to you as well. Like you see such a kind of, it's a different atmosphere out there, and it's amazing. You often get like groups of people dancing, and this is often something we see in World Cups as well. We get like pockets of fans from the African nations, and as you say, they're in full body paint, dancing and stuff, and it really creates a real good atmosphere in the stadium. I don't see that much of that today, I guess, because the Ivorians are a little bit nervous as well, I would imagine. Because, this is probably the biggest match in Ivorian history, potentially. To win the African Cup of Nations on home soil is absolutely massive for them. So you do sense a little bit of nerves in the crowd today. You don't see that. Although a good shot of the Nigerians there, they're doing a lot of dancing.
Nigerians with their trumpets. They got a full horn section there. And I guarantee you that Bambo is in the crowd. Bambo is one of the most famous Ivorian fans. And then there's also Papa Elephant. Papa Elephant is he's in like this. You might see him. He leads like a full dancing section, and they're doing the Mexican wave as well. Okay, although, I mean, if we can
in preparation for tonight's Super Bowl, I think. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Bombo's there, and Papa Elephant is there too. I hope they show a shot of Papa Elephant because he's like in this huge. I mean, it's like I don't know what to compare it to. It's a huge like stuffed animal suit, but it really is genuinely huge. I mean, the guy who takes up, I think he has to buy like 3 seats, and he's in like this huge stuffed elephant suit, and he leads the charge in there. It's beautiful stuff. I mean, you don't get that anywhere else. And if you go, I mean, if you watch a game live in Africa, if you actually go, and you're there in the stands with these guys, I mean, you're singing along with them before you even know it. I mean, you don't even know what you're doing. You just pick it right up. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I have seen some European fans in the crowds, actually. There are definitely people that make the pilgrimage over there to watch this tournament from the likes of Europe and maybe even the US, But I think it's, it's a brilliant tournament. It really is. It's a proper niche tournament in some ways, but it's everything that's good about football in many ways, apart from goals so far in this final. But yeah, I mean, we are set to see some good football here from the Ivorians. A big chance here opened up. Oh, and it's saved, but it's great goalkeeping there from the big Nigerian goalkeeper. It's obviously Nwabali. I hope my pronunciation's okay there for any Nigerians watching. But yeah, he is a good goalkeeper. He's made a lot of good saves in this tournament. He makes a big save there from, I think it's Adingra, who's been probably the most dangerous player for the Ivorians so far in the match. But some really good football, some good build-up play there, which led to the shot wide on the left side as the corner comes in. Oh, it seems though there's yet more tugging, shirt pulling in the center. This referee, I've got to be honest, he's not got great control over the match. I mean, that is one thing, criticism of African football that some people make, isn't it? The fact that the referees are a little bit dodgy sometimes, let's say. Oh, a great shot of Kanu as well. I think that's Kanu in the Nigerian shirt. You remember him? Yeah. He is a legend.
Absolutely. Oh, I could watch him all night long. He doesn't seem too happy.
Looks like he's not missed too many burgers since he retired. Just as a corner gets swung in now. Oh, it's won, but it's cleared out in the end by Bassi. But yeah, the Ivorians have been significantly the better side so far in this match. I mean, Nigeria are really struggling actually out there. We've not seen really anything from them in the match. But I think, as I mentioned, Adingra has been really doing well in the Ivorian team. He's been getting a lot of space. I think Max Gradel as well, who's another man we should mention actually, because he is really, he's the streets remember, as it's say, because he played for Leeds United 15 years ago, I think.
I know.
And then obviously Bournemouth as well. He's had a really interesting career, the young, well, I say the young winger, yeah, the old winger. Yeah, anyway, I remember when he was a young man at Leeds United, and England loved him at that time. He was such an exciting player in the Championship. But nowadays, he must be 35, 36 now, Max Gradel.
I couldn't believe he was still around. I think he wasn't even he didn't even make the team in 2021, if I recall correctly. Yeah, no, but he is. I mean, Max Gradel was he on that 2013 team?
He should have been. Yeah, he should have been, definitely. The 2015 team that won it, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, at that time, he was playing for San Etienne, actually. He played for San Etienne. He's currently at Gaziantep in Turkey. That's his current club. So he's been around the world with his football, that's for sure.
Well, I'm trying to remember. I think he was on that 2013 title-winning team. That's how long he's been around. And is it Gradel? The thing about it is that he has a suspicion. I think I might have been saying his name wrong all these years because I've been saying it like he's a German. That would be a German name, Max Gradel. I mean, that would be a perfect.
In English, we call him Gradel as well. In English, but he literally could pass for a German. He could be a German with a name like Max Gradel. You know what I mean? Yeah, but clearly he's not a German. Oh, just as Nigeria come to create a big chance. Oh, it's a terrible first touch. The shot gets away and it's blocked. Oh, geez, that was the first big chance for Nigeria to get forward there. It's a great block from Kosunu. Probably one of the best defenders in the Bundesliga this season. He actually originally came from a really poor pass from Allaire, I think it was actually, who mislays it. But it's a terrible first touch from the winger. I think it was a Nigerian number 3 actually who had the shot. So it was Sanusi who had the shot there, but it was a really poor first touch, which was eventually blocked. But it is going to be a corner for the Nigerians. Just stay with me as Lukman puts it in. Oh, and it's True. Oh, it's a goal! Goal! Is it True Stay Kong? It is. It's True Stay Kong. We mentioned how good he is in this tournament, and it's a massive header from the miscleared corner. What a header that is from the captain, player of the tournament, and it is the lead for Nigeria, Peter.
Oh, wow. Oh, man. Yeah, that is. Well, we talked about what a leader he has been, and that is just an absolute, that's a win of a second ball. Pardon the cliche, that's a captain's goal. It is. Yeah. There's Kanu. Now Kanu's getting a little excited.
He's definitely not missed many burgers since he retired. Yeah, he's a true legend though, Kanu. Like he really was a cult hero over in England.
Absolutely. I could right. Oh wow, that was that's how you do it really. Off fighting, he tracked it all the way and got up there first. And look at the physicality as he wins that header. Yeah. That is amazing. Yes,
I mean that's what I was mentioning. What he's shown in this tournament is just ridiculous. Really, like what a player!
That is how you fearlessly go into an aerial duel. Absolutely, just track the ball the entire way, and I mean, put your shoulder in there. Not, you risk maybe doing something a little illegal there when you lean into an aerial duel with your shoulder going first.
That was a brilliant header, brilliant, really, and it sailed into the back of the net. And Nigeria have the lead, so we have our first goal in the AFCON final against a run of play, really. Although we do know that Nigeria, they probably do have a little bit more quality in the forward areas. I've been a little bit disappointed with Allaire in this game, in truth. I mean, it was actually his poor pass that gave the initial chance to the Nigerians. He's not turned up at all, quite frankly, in the match. But the Nigerians have the lead. I mean, they've been the best team in the tournament, haven't they, Peter? Ultimately, few people have been able to argue if the Nigerians took home the trophy tonight. I mean, let's just talk a little bit more about their route through, actually. So in the group, as Peter mentioned, they actually only came second in the group with 7 points. Ironically, Equatorial Guinea, after that 4-0 win against Ivory Coast, they actually took top spots in the group, which was quite incredible. But they played a pretty solid group without being too spectacular. But then obviously they really kind of came into their own with that 2-0 win over Cameroon. We actually watched that, Peter. You were at my house for that game, weren't you? And we were both impressed with the Nigerian performance in that one. It was very, very convincing. Then obviously slightly more, actually it was a double from Lookman as well in that match that got them through. Again, another of the players of the tournament so far. Obviously, it was his corner as well that led to the opening goal. Then, a 1-0 win over Angola. Angola had been one of the tournament surprise packages as well. So that was a bit of a kind of dark horse quarterfinal. It was Lookman again who got the goal. So, he won't be far away from winning player of the tournament as well if the Nigerians do go on to win the tournament. And then the semi-final surprise package, South Africa, wasn't it? Who knocked out pre-tournament favourites, Morocco. For a long period, it looked as though quite a comfortable semi-final, really. They took the lead through the penalty, but then obviously were pegged back after that bizarre moment when basically Osimhen looked as though he made it 2-0 with a couple of minutes left, and then it was pulled back and the penalty was given to South Africa and they equalised, and obviously eventually it went to penalty kicks and Nigeria still just about prevailed, but it was a bit of a topsy-turvy shootout, wasn't it? There were missed penalties for both sides in that particular one. But yeah, Peter, do you think anyone could really argue that the Nigerians have been the best team in the tournament so well over the 4 or 5 weeks of the proceedings?
Well, that's the beauty of the AFCON, is that you do get a lot of surprises. And I think you mentioned that Angola was a surprise. Mauritania knocking out Algeria, winning their first ever match at the AFCON and advancing to the knockouts. That was a huge surprise. There was, I really was impressed with Mali. I thought that Mali had a really good chance. Mali and Burkina Faso are a couple of West African nations that people don't necessarily associate with, the West African powerhouses, because they've actually never won the tournament, the Burkinabés or Les Aigles. Look, there's so many incredibly strong West African nations. As a matter of fact, we haven't mentioned Ghana because they've had a disastrous last pair of AFCONs in which they've been eliminated in the group phase both times. But that's also a traditional West African powerhouse. So you have Nigeria, you have Cote d'Ivoire, you have Senegal, you have Ghana.
Cameroon as well.
Cameroon as well. Let's not forget the 2017 champions, of course not. Who also had a uncharacteristically poor tournament. It was a horrible tournament for North African sides with Algeria, which were actually the 2019 AFCON champions, that summer AFCON that they had, getting eliminated in the group phase. And then Tunisia as well. Good God, Lord, what a horrible tournament it was for Tunisia. And Eintracht Frankfurt's El Yashkiri, they finished dead last in their group. Morocco were the only North African team to actually advance to the knockouts, and they were beaten by South Africa, who you mentioned big tournament surprises. I mean, when it comes to African football, West Africa and North Africa is really where it's at. I mean, I lived in East Africa, and the Tanzanian national team was not good, and so neither the one, and neither is the Ethiopian one, and neither is
the Kenyan.
The Kenyan ones are not very good. Tanzania was in this tournament. They also sacked their trainer in the middle of the group phase, but they, to the surprise of no one, did not have a good tournament. So I mean, I guess I can't argue with your point that Nigeria is probably the most consistent team in there, but Mali, they were really good. I thought that they might have a chance this year, but they ran into the Cote d'Ivoire miracle machine. And I think, going down this 1-0 at this point, do you think they're even scared now? Do you think Cote d'Ivoire are scared? I mean, as many comebacks as they've had, as many times as they've had their back up against the wall, do you think they're even nervous at all? I sincerely doubt it.
No, I wouldn't imagine so. No, I would imagine, they'll be a little bit frustrated that they're behind because they have been the better side for most of the half, although it was a really excellent header for the goal. But I mean, they'll believe they're in this right till the end. I've got a feeling that Nigeria might have to finish the game before those last few minutes. I think if it's 1-0 going into the last few, they'll be on tenterhooks, and the Ivorians will fully believe they can get back into it in that last 10, 15 minutes if it is still 1-0. But you know, the Nigerians are a very professional outfit. Defensively, they've been rock solid the whole tournament. I mean, they've only conceded 1 goal in the knockouts so far, and that was that penalty from Mokoena of South Africa in the semi-final. So you could see that defensively they are rock solid. You know, Bassi, Troost, Akong, it really is a rock solid centre-half partnership that. So, yeah, I mean, I think the Nigerians, obviously, they're going to be absolutely delighted. I mean, they're leading the final. They'll fully believe it. I think they'll believe they should win it from this position. They probably are a better team, ultimately, than this Ivorian miracle machine, as Peter coined. But, I mean, sometimes it works out like that. You know, we've seen, obviously, Qatar yesterday, against all odds, really winning the Asia Cup with 3 penalties in the final. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody knows that, you know, not everyone is the biggest fan of Qatar and their kind of dominance of Asian football in recent years, you know, which is surprising for such a minnow nation to win back-to-back Asia Cups. I mean, what have you thought about that, Peter? A little bit off topic, but I think we should mention it at this stage as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, I, of course, covered all of the Bundesliga professionals active in the Asian Continental Championship for Bully News as well. And I like that tournament. I've covered it. I did the 2015, the 2019, and this most recent one for Bully News. So I've covered 3 of those tournaments, not as many as I've covered the AFCONs. Yeah, I mean, for Qatar to win 2 of them in a row now, that's somewhat disappointing because, I mean, most German fans were either rooting for Japan or South Korea because we had the most Bundesliga players on both of them, and both of those teams had the talent to win the tournament. You know, and South Korea, the way they lost was just, it was awful. It was genuinely awful. But that was a fun tournament in that it had some surprises as well. It's no AFCON. It really isn't. But I like that tournament too, and I advocate that people watch it because you can also get some interesting stories out of it. There were some very interesting stories about Bundesliga players. Like I can't pronounce this kid's name. I'm going to butcher it, but the one who played for Hong Kong, I think his name is Michael Udule-Bazor. He's the son of 2 Nigerians. A Nigerian footballer who played professionally in Hong Kong, and he moved to Ingolstadt when he was 14 to start training. Speaks very good English. Is that yeah? Nice shot of Ahmed Musa on the bench there. Good to see him again.
Yeah, we've seen him for a while.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, there was that very interesting story about the Nigerian. Actually, in the last AFCON, there was a really interesting story involving a German who played for Nigeria. His name was Maduka Okeye, and he was from Düsseldorf, of a Nigerian father and a German mother, I believe. And you know, he was last AFCON. There's a lot of keeper injuries in African football. That just shows you how physical it is. You saw how Troost Akon went up for that header. You know, it happens so much more in African football than I think any other football that I watch. But, I mean, keepers really get hurt a lot on aerial duels or going out to punch away corners and things like that because they really lean in heavily to the aerial duels in African football. So there were 2 goalkeepers. He had never been capped for country. I don't even think he had played for club yet. He was from Düsseldorf, but he went over to England to play for Watford, and never made an appearance. And yeah, I think he was. So he was thrust into the Nigerian tournament 2 years ago, and kept a shutout in a group phase game. So much so that he got another start, as a matter of fact. So I mean, that was there's so many great stories if you have time to dive into the nuance of it all. And we saw that with the kid, the Nigerian who speaks fluent German after growing up in Ingolstadt, who plays for Hong Kong. And then on the Africa side, this year, as a matter of fact, I told you about this kid, the kid from CFR Pforzheim.
Yeah,
That is
yeah,
a fifth tier.
yeah. That's unbelievable. Yeah,
Yes. And he was playing for I think it was Gambia, the Scorpions, which Germans like Gambia just because, well, they love the Scorpions,
yeah.
the legendary German hair metal band. But yeah, this kid, um, oh God, what was his name? Oh, I'm gonna have to look it up. But was it Gambia or was it? Oh God, I remember. But yeah, but the kid from Pforzheim, who was playing, I think, oh, it's gonna drive me nuts.
I mean, Gambia is a really niche nation anyway. They were in it as well, right? The Gambia, which was somewhat of a
Uh,
surprise to me because it's a
they did
tiny
better
nation.
last. Yeah,
Like
they did.
Gambia
They
is
did
pretty
better
much one of
last.
the, if not maybe the smallest nation in Africa, as far as I know. It's absolutely tiny.
Yeah, the former British protectorate, is it not? I think like
Yeah,
technically you're supposed to call it the Gambia,
yeah.
but
In
no.
England, we call it the Gambia, but I'm not sure whether that's what it nowadays goes as. I don't know, but
Oh God,
yeah.
where?
But it is half time, by the way, guys. It is half time, and it's 1-0 to Nigeria, as you say. So, yeah, just a nice comment in from David as well. Nigeria got to get players forward to get the second goal. Yeah, I would agree. I think they need to go for the second because you wouldn't want to, play against this Ivorian team in the injury time, especially because we know what they can pull off. And yeah, game manage and win the trophy. I mean, you would probably imagine them to go on and win it from here because they are a very competent side, this Nigerian team. And, just look at the squad. It's just packed full of quality, basically. Troost Ekong, Ajayi, Aina, Iwobi, Chukwueze, Lookman, and then obviously Osimhen, who, by the way, surprisingly, Osimhen, I wouldn't say has had that good of a tournament, actually, despite the quality that the Nigerians have shown. In this game, he's looked agitated, a little bit off the boil at times. But obviously, no question, he is a top draw player with what he's done at Napoli and on the continent. So yeah, Peter, obviously it is half time now. We got about a 15-minute break. So I just wanted to turn our attention back towards the Champions League, obviously, which is kicking off this midweek again, which is fantastic for all football fans as well. So yeah, obviously, because we are mostly a Bundesliga channel, we are going to focus more on the Bundesliga games as well. By the way, I did check, there is going to be Frankfurt are going to be playing as well in the Conference League, so we will go over that game as well against our old friends Union Saint-Gilloise as well. So yeah, let's start with the Tuesday night game. It's obviously RB Leipzig, Real Madrid. I mean, a great test for RB Leipzig, off form RB Leipzig, really, who haven't really hit the top form since we started back in January this season. Marco Rose are under a modicum of pressure, I would say, at this stage, because we were used to RB Leipzig being Champions League regulars, and they currently sit fifth and 3 points outside of the top four places and on declining form as well, which is a bit of a worry for them. We're not going to mention too much about what happened this weekend because that's tomorrow's task. But probably the big news from Real Madrid side is that Jude Bellingham is injured as well. He got injured, so his long-awaited return to Germany is not going to happen in this particular match, which is a little bit unfortunate in some ways. Although he did play in Berlin, let's not forget that. He did play in the Olympiastadion in Berlin in the group stage. So, Peter, obviously the first leg is going to be in Leipzig. What are your thoughts?
Well, you've already mentioned that. What my thoughts on that? Since Jude Bellingham is out hurt, I don't think many Germans are going to be watching this game. That would have been the only reason that they were going to tune in. You mentioned Leipzig's terrible form. Oh Lord, this weekend. We'll get to that tomorrow with our colleague Rory when it's time to talk Bundesliga. But yeah, I mean, you have to tip Real for a big win there, don't you?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I would go for probably a 3-1 to Real, in truth. Although Bellingham has been their main man this year, so it's possible that Leipzig could nick a draw, but they've been really poor of late. That's the problem for them. But then, yeah, probably a really interesting tie as well. Lazio Bayern. This is one for the old school guys. You know, I mean, Lazio are a real proper old school club down there in Rome, Italy as well. Playing FC Bayern Munich, who are also off form at the minute, really well. Maybe not off form, but they're not hitting the high standards that we're used to from an FC Bayern team. So yeah, this is an interesting tie. I mean, from what I can gather, is that Lazio are around about 4th or 5th in Serie A, so they're having a solid season. You know, set to challenge for Champions League qualification again. This is going to be a hard game for Bayern because I just don't like what Bayern are doing at the minute. I don't think Tuchel really knows his best 11. To be honest, I'm not going to mention it too much, but Tuchel is under pressure for me at the minute, and this is not a good time for this game to come. Let's say that much for him, because if they lose this, say 2-0 or 3-1, I'm not sure he'll be in a job come the second leg. To be honest with you, but I'm actually going to go for a Lazio win. I'm afraid. Obviously, we will be supporting Bayern on this show in this game because obviously we need the points. We always support the Bundesliga teams, but I think they'll get a goal, but I've got a feeling that Lazio are going to nick a 2-1 here. I feel as though, you know, the atmosphere in the Olimpico, I'm sure it'll be a sellout. Their fans are insane as well, the Lazio fans. So, you know, they do have some good players, the likes of Immobile, Milinkovic, Savic. They do have some good players in Lazio. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 home win. Peter, what are you fancying there?
That's a great tip. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And come tomorrow, we're gonna have to do ourselves a Bayern autopsy because they are in crisis. I mean, they're in serious crisis. You know, real roller coaster of emotions for German football fans this weekend. Wow, we're not quite sure to be. You know, I mean, we at least thought that Bayern would be a little bit more competitive. As it's turned out, they sort of got humiliated. And how many times can we rely on this? Oh, we wanted to show a reaction, and we're going to show a reaction from Bayern. Eventually, you run out of reactions. I mean, that's it. So I think you're absolutely correct.
Yeah, definitely a big pressure game, this one for sure. And there's a lot more pressure on the away side in that one. And then moving on to the Thursday game, you know, not a game that's going to get too many people excited, but obviously the Conference League preliminary playoff. So basically the last 32 of the Conference League. And it's going to be Union Saint-Gilloise, the leaders of the Belgian Premier League, by the way, hosting, let's just say, up and down Eintracht Frankfurt side. So yeah, this one looks on. This is a proper like niche tie as well. Two great clubs, by the way, with great support, and I'm sure it'll be an absolute sellout there in you know, the suburbs of Brussels. But where can you go for this one? Go on, I'll let you talk us through this one, Peter, because this is a hard one to tip.
Frankfurt are another German team in very poor form. Another team that actually we may not get time to talk about them tomorrow. So I mean, I would say that the last two draws for Frankfurt have been incredibly disappointing. You know, particularly considering the amount of talent that Dino Topmüller has on his squad. But I think this is probably an instance in which you can tip the German side to rebound, mostly because Topmüller does have some nice shiny new toys, including our new, we hope he's going to be a star, the PSG loanee. We hope he stays in German football. Mr. Palindrome himself, Hugo Ekitike. I think that he gets a start here and probably makes his impact. He's probably ready for the starting 11 at this point. I'll tip a 3-1 Eintracht win there.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, yeah, because obviously, you know, Union Saint-Gilloise are a very competent side in their own right. They are top. They've been, you know, in the top two of the Belgian Pro League for the last 3 years, basically. So yeah, I think I'm going to go for a score draw. Yeah, I still don't trust that. Unfortunately, I can't tip any Bundesliga teams to get a win this week. Because as you mentioned, all three are off form. Really, that's the problem, basically. So it's hard to see any of them. Obviously, all three have got difficult opponents as well. Like none of those are easy games. And it's hard to see a Bundesliga team getting a win, but I do believe that we will have something to cheer for the Bundesliga this year. I think Bayern probably will still get through that tie. I can see them getting through it, but they'll have to toil in Rome. I do believe that, and if they could take a 2-1 back to the the Allianz Arena, I do believe they'll just about get the job done in Munich. But I wish we could be able to bring you a little bit of better news for the Bundesliga teams, but that's the way it is. Yeah. So as you can see, I've just put a little comment out as well. What are your best AFCON memories? Because this is a tournament that is just so niche. It's unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, I think for me, I would have to say my best memory would have to be there's two that stand out for me. And I think the first one is the Zambia win. I mean, that Zambia win, I watched almost every game on that run, and I was shouting. I used to shout so hard for the Zambians because it was just a fairy tale story, wasn't it? I remember the tournament was in Equatorial Guinea and Gabon. That was the host country. And, Zambia, back then it was only 16 teams in the tournament as well. And I think Zambia were one of the absolute rank outsiders. Yeah. And obviously, who could forget the absolute legend, Hervé Renard, as well? I mean, what an absolute cult hero he is in football, with that famous white shirt. He almost looked like... he almost looked like he was going out on some kind of like 5-star safari in South Africa, didn't he? Like with this beautiful tan and like this perfect fitted white shirt every single game. And obviously brought glory to Zambia, that tournament, didn't he? And then just a couple of years later, he was able to repeat the trick with the Ivorians too. Who can forget that? Obviously winning that as well. So he is definitely an African legend, and he's someone that, whenever I think African football, I think Hervé Renard, really. I mean, obviously nowadays, I think he's the French women's coach, right?
That's
so,
correct,
he's, yeah.
Well, actually, they were looking to, when Côte d'Ivoire fired the coach, they were looking to bring in Hervé Renard on a temporary basis to help coach Côte d'Ivoire for the rest of the tournament. And as you correctly pointed out, he brought them to the championship in 2015. Also coached the Moroccan Atlas Lions for a good long while, and we all remember that highly competent World Cup in 2018 that he brought them through. I've been on a good day when my shirts are properly starched. I've been compared to Hervé Renard. I know I'm not that, but, if I have the right starch in my shirts and maybe I got a little bit of sunshine, I can be
it needs to be more tight. Yeah, you need the skin tight look more.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I mean, he is Mr. Africa as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, he is like, the god of Africa, basically.
Oh God, I mean, I have favorite ones from every tournament. There was in 2013, it had to be when the Super Eagles finally did win it. In 2015, there was a drawing of lots involving Mali in the group phase. So that was I forget. Look, I got a lot of information in my head. I can't always produce it on command, but there was I think it was Mali and Guinea maybe. Yeah, they were. I looked it up. Mali and Guinea, they were tied on head-to-head record, overall goal difference, and overall goals scored. So they had to do a drawing of lots at the the Malabo Hilton, and I watched it live and was just enraptured by it. I couldn't believe that they were doing that on the fourth tiebreaker in a major international tournament. That was a lot of fun. The 2017 tournament, I had the privilege of meeting South African play-by-play broadcaster Sivwe Mabena, and he was one of the greatest play-by-play. I mean, certainly the greatest African play-by-play announcer that I've ever heard of, and maybe one of the greatest of all times, because I mean, look, a lot of times they have they'll hire British guys or Aussies or something like this to narrate the Africa Cup of Nations. beIN Sports in 2017 did Mabena, and he had this trademark thing that every time a goal was scored, he would go click, click, bang. And that was just the tip of the iceberg of what he had to offer. I mean, he was just the way he would describe things, like the way we crown our kings in Africa. This is all. I mean, I don't. Somebody needs to hire this guy to, commentate continental football in Europe or the Premiership or something. But I love that. I mean, I couldn't wait for a goal to be scored, particularly the longer from distance it was, the louder he would go, click, click, bang! Contrast that with good old
Did he get a second contract? That's the big question.
I mean, one time he ran out of ideas. He was like, click, click, you know what that means. That's that with, like, your some of your British guys will be like 1-0. Yep.
Yeah. I think it is brilliant when they give, like, for me, this is an African tournament. It's great to have, like, African commentators and things. I always love to see that. Yeah. I also love to see African managers as well, to be honest, because I think for a long time, it's been a tradition that, like, Europeans manage these teams. Obviously, Hervé Renard deserves all the credit he's had in Africa because he has had success.
That was what was so good about Nigeria in 2013, was that it was Stephen Keshi. I think it might have been the first time in like 30 years or something like that that a team had won with an actual African trainer. And it's there's all sorts of fun stuff. I mean, 2019, my favorite was the Comoros. And you remember the Berea horns and everything? They were like the big surprise team that year. So that was awesome. Oh God, I don't know. You have to stop me. I can go on all night. By the way, I did look up the kid from Pforzheim. It's Stanley Retiefo, who played for Mozambique, which was not a very strong country, obviously. As I said, East Africa. Well, Mozambique more Southeast Africa. But they, fifth tier German Oberliga player from Pforzheim, playing in the AFCON. That was one of my. I guess I like that bit here. 2021, the German keeper Okoye that I was mentioning earlier. His story for Nigeria was a really cool one. As the second half.
The AFCON is, it is indeed. The AFCON is definitely a tournament that never fails to, surprise, and it truly is a fantastic tournament. I think there's one other that I wanted to mention too, the Madagascar run a few years ago as well, when they went to the quarterfinal. Yeah. Because I mean, Madagascar, I think they never qualified for the tournament before, or they never won a match at the tournament, and they got through to the quarterfinal, which was just. I mean, this is an island that's better known for wildlife, and basically they got into the quarterfinal of the AFCON. That's one of the other great things about this tournament too. Like, basically, you get so many random teams and countries that go deep into this tournament sometimes as well. Like, as you mentioned, Comoros made the quarterfinal a few years ago. This year, you got Cape Verde made the quarterfinal too. So, I mean, you don't really see that in the Euros, do you? I mean, it's very rare. You wouldn't get a team like Moldova getting to the quarterfinal, would you? You know what I mean? So, I think that, you have a lot of countries in Africa. I think around about 50 countries in Africa, and basically a lot of these countries are able to compete at a high level in football as well. And the other thing you've got to remember is that basically football competes with no other sports in Africa too. Like, football is the number one in pretty much every country there. I think apart from maybe South Africa, which is obviously rugby and cricket as well due to the British colonialism, but basically every other country is just football. No, it's as simple as that. So even some of the countries that aren't as successful, as you mentioned, Kenya, Ethiopia, they still love the game. They're just not very good at it, basically. That's the problem. So,
Madagascar story, that was the Berea, they were called, which is some kind of, I don't even know what kind of animal that is, but it has horns, obviously, because they were doing these, like, the Berea horn celebrations. That was in the 2019 AFCON. Which was a summer AFCON, something that they only tried it once in the last, and since I've been covering this tournament.
But I heard we're going to get that again in 2024, 5, I guess it'll be, because this was meant to be 2023 actually, but it was moved due
Right.
to, obviously, I think the Ivorian president said that he was worried it was going to be too hot in this part of the world in the summer. But they do plan on moving the 2025 edition, I guess it'll be. Is going to be in Morocco, and they think it'll be okay to have a summer edition again for that. So, but the good news is we only have to wait another 18 months for the next AFCON, Peter.
That's true. Actually, since you mentioned, the Ivorian president talking about, I mean, it is still hot in this region. You notice that they're having cooling breaks every so often. 2019, when the tournament was hosted in Egypt, that might have been the first AFCON. No. 2013 was hosted in South Africa. And then 2015 was moved. It was supposed to be hosted by Morocco, but the Moroccans, and this was incredibly controversial, the North Africans did not want to host sub-Saharan Africans because they believed that they were going to let the Ebola virus come into the country.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
So they could not hold the tournament in Morocco. So the 2015 was then moved at the last moment to, Equatorial Guinea, which was which hosted the 2012 tournament that you were talking about.
Oh, big chance. Oh, sorry. There was a big chance there for Côte d'Ivoire, but it was well blocked on the line. I think it could have been truced again. Wow. I mean, it was actually Max Gradel who had a big chance. There was good play from the Ivorians. He got the ball out wide through a Dingwa again. Put a great ball in the keeper. Oh, what a block that is. It's not. It's Bassi, actually. The big man Bassi makes a massive goal-saving block. Wow, what a block that is, Peter. That's massive.
Yeah. Oof. Bassi is a beast. Look at him.
Yeah.
God, he must be
celebrating that like a goal, basically, just as the Nigerians come forward. Yeah, but he's literally celebrating that like a goal, and it pretty much was, really, in a way, because it would have been 1-1. If he wasn't there to get a big foot on it, then it would have been 1-1. So the Ivorians started well. But go on, back to you, Peter, because I was enjoying that little story.
Yeah. Good Lord, we were talking about keepers. I mean, keepers, it's so hard to keep track of African keepers and Africa. I was talking about the injuries and everything. This Nigerian keeper, I've never heard or seen of him before. He must be a domestic league player. But he's got a face that I would not want to cross in a dark alley. That guy just looks like he's built for a fight. What was I talking about? Oh, yes. How the AFCONs have been moved, so controversial. I mean, this just goes to show you that even for the greatest AFCON enthusiast, Africa enthusiast like myself, we have to deal with these controversies. Not only the fact that the 2015 tournament was moved, the 2017 tournament was also moved. Okay, that one was supposed to be held by Libya. But we couldn't do that because of the civil war that was going on at the time. So then they of course, and they moved that one to Gabon, Bongo's country. And then finally, in 2019, Egypt was able to retain hosting duties. Then Cameroon hosted in 2021. That one wasn't moved. But okay, so there's, how ironic that one of the only AFCONs that didn't get moved from its original location happened during a pandemic.
Yeah. And ironically, the next one was meant to be in the 2025 one was meant to be in Guinea, but they weren't able to go ahead, and it's actually been moved to Morocco, ironically, this time. So yeah, you can see that there's a lot of controversy. Actually, there was a bit of a look for what's going on here, actually. The player stayed down. There was a clip in the box there. Potential Ivory Coast penalty. It looked a little bit soft, but the referee probably rightly waved play on, but the players stayed down, probably hoping for a VAR check. This Nwabali, the goalkeeper, is going absolutely crazy at him, basically. It's Max Gradel, if you want to use the German way of saying it. He's gone down. Nwabali is going absolutely crazy. It looks like a dive, basically. He's actually kicked the Nigeria man. He kicks the Nigeria man and goes down looking for a penalty. There's no give in there, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, obviously Ivory Coast are looking for every kind of way back into this game, clean and unclean.
He might have just he accidentally stepped on. Yeah. So basically, he probably just he was in for a little bit of an awkward landing there. I don't know if he's necessarily trying to draw a penalty. That's what Nabali is assuming. That's what the keeper is assuming. Who, by the way, not only does he have an incredibly frightening face, that guy is built like he's that
he's
guy could
massive.
Play. He could be playing in the Super Bowl later.
I did actually look, by the way. I did look, and both players have ended up in the yellow card. Nwabali is now a book man as well, by the way, the Nigeria goalkeeper. He's still going mad. Or Konat has also ended up in the book, the Ivorian left back. But by the way, I did check where he plays Nwabali. He is an African domestic player, but he plays in South Africa, actually, for Chipper United, the team is called. There you go. Yeah, I do believe that the South African League is seen as being the best African league, by the way, for domestically, from what I can gather.
The team itself is not particularly good. I mean, they've, of course, we all remember the World Cup in which they hosted in 2010, qualified automatically as hosts. Bafana did. But have they qualified for a World Cup since?
No, they've not even been close. They've not. Generally, I don't think they're a big football nation, really. I mean, they have a lot of fans, but they're not like seen as an African powerhouse. Although they did have that famous win after the apartheid fell, didn't they? They did have that AFCON win in the early 90s, I guess 92 or 94. And that was seen as like a massive breakthrough for football in South Africa, because before that, it was more of a rugby country, or cricket were considered bigger sports. But I mean, I think there is definitely an appetite for football in South Africa, because I mean, the 2010 World Cup, every stadium was sold out, packed to capacity, and it was an amazing atmosphere. Apart from the vuvuzelas, of course.
The commentator that I mentioned, Mabena, he's from South Africa, and he commentates the South African domestic league, which I've been tempted to watch, but you know, I couldn't find any place to watch it after the 2017 AFCON final. Perhaps I can now. That was that was weird. Anytime you like put in South African sports, all you could get was the frickin' Oscar Pistorius trial. Like, I don't want to watch it.
I mean, they're obviously. Let's not forget they're world champions in rugby as well. They're a great rugby playing nation. South Africa. They actually won the Rugby World Cup just last year, actually, the back end of last year. So, yeah, they do have an element of success in sport as well. Yeah, they're a big rugby playing nation, actually, South Africa.
Well, we've all seen that movie, or read the book, Invictus, about the first post-apartheid win when they were hosting the Rugby World Cup. Now, of course, at that time, they had one black player on the team, and I think there was one white player on the national football team. Matthew Booth.
Yeah, well, it's still kind of like that, to be honest. It's still, I think rugby and cricket are still predominantly white, although it's got a little bit better over the years. There are maybe 3 or 4 black players nowadays, but it's the same with the football. Like, the football is all black players, whereas the cricket and rugby are mostly white. So, yeah, I think there is still clearly class differences in that country. Just as Ivory Coast come forward with a poor cross. Oh, he's kept it in. Oh. Yeah, Chukwueze's come off, by the way, for Nigeria. He didn't really have, obviously, the Aston Villa man. He didn't have any kind of impact on the game. In fact, I think he might even have joined Chelsea, Chukwueze, now, but he was poor in the game. Good play again from Adingwa to keep the ball in. They're just checking a penalty there, but there was nothing doing again there. I think Cote d'Ivoire are going to look for everything on these penalties, aren't they, in the second half? They really seem to be desperately wanting a penalty in this match, but... Yeah, Peter, I mean, obviously 56 minutes on the clock, nothing major happening in the second half yet, apart from that block on the line, obviously, from the brilliant block from Bassi after Max Gradel looked as though he was going to make it 1-1. But Peter, I mean, any tactical tweaks you could imagine coming up here? Or?
I mean, you know, I haven't been following the tournament on a tactical level the way that I follow the Bundesliga on a tactical level, because that takes research. I mean, I do know that, you know, from what I was listening to the BBC earlier today, and they were talking a little bit about Faye's interim coaching regime, and they, according to them at least, and they are the BBC, that you know, he's just been running the straightforward 4-3-3 and letting the players sort of coach themselves. And I think that's entirely believable. I mean, I'm looking at the shape right now, and it looks to me like about as straightforward a 4-3-3 as you're ever likely to get. They're going to score. They're going to. I mean, they're going to find a way. Of course, they'll find a way. I've not seen Chukwueze is off. You said that was the only substitution that either side has made thus far. So both of them are, and that was not a bad effort at all from Serie. Right outside a distance effort, probably about never mind. It was a solid 2 meters wide in the final analysis. But nice idea to take a snipe from that range. Why not?
I think it was Jean-Michel Seri as well. He actually plays in the English Championship, ironically, for Hull City. So, he's a player. A lot of the African players, they have really interesting careers that take them all over the world pretty much to play the football. He's another one that's played all over Europe, I think in the UAE as well. So he's been everywhere, basically, some of these guys. But he's another one that's getting on a little bit now. He must be 33, 34, and he's in the twilight of his career, which maybe could be an issue for the Ivorians because they are quite an old side, actually. They've got a few guys well into the 30s. Just as they come forward again here. Oh, the chance! Oh, but the big man Nwabali saves it again. It was a big chance. It was an easy save in the end. He's actually laughing now, the big man. As it's Kessié who misses the chance actually there. Again, Adingwa gets into that wide. He's been the best player so far. It was actually poor play from Bassi this time, who lost the ball in a bad position. Good play, I think, from Adingwa there. Gets the ball in. It's Kessié, the AC Milan midfielder, who heads straight at Nwabali. He's got to be getting... There's not a lot of pace on the ball, but he's got to be getting better direction on that one, Peter, really. It's an easy save for the big Nigerian keeper there.
He is... That guy puts in some serious time at the gym. I have a lot of respect for him. I mean, you don't get biceps like that overnight. That guy is. Anyway, as we get a shot of the Ivorian fans, well, they're going to be. The Ivorian fans know better than to give up on this team. It is okay. You know what? I mean, sometimes Haller is playing so advanced, from what I could tell, that you could almost mistake this for a 4-1-4-1, which would kind of make sense because you have Adringa's a young kid. Right, he's what, 21, 22 years old, and Gradle, as we were talking about, has got to be 36, 37. So if you're going to have those two players of that age difference and speed difference on your attacking flanks, it would make sense to play Haller very, very deep in something of a 4-1-4-1, which would, but it looks. Okay, now, I mean, their attack build is slowing up considerably, so I can see their shape quite easily. And there's Haller sort of dropping deep a little bit there. Okay. Yeah. One problem that we have here with Côte d'Ivoire tactically, from what I can see, is that they're playing very, very slowly out of the back, and they're sort of radio calling long runs and vertical balls, which is not particularly imaginative, and it's indicative of a team that's tired. Oh, there's another snipe. That Nwabali. I mean, okay, he was screaming. That was Kosunu who took it.
Yeah, it was. He's hit that well. Oh, that's a real sweet strike, that is, isn't it? And the big man saves again. It's actually the 5th shot on target from the Ivorians, so they are racking up the shots on target.
Okay,
but
and that was
the big man in net is. I reckon he's putting himself in the shop window. Oh, it's a goal! It's 1-1 from the corner. The equaliser's coming. I was just going to say, Didier Drogba goes crazy. The whole of Abidjan goes crazy. Look at these scenes. It's absolutely massive. They've come back again. It's the number 8 who's got the goal. I have to double check. It's Frank Kessié from the header. He missed the chance before, and he's got the equaliser. Absolutely massive. The whole of Abidjan, the whole of Ivory Coast goes absolutely crazy. And wow, it's another great header, Peter.
Absolutely beautiful. These are the scenes that you wait for. And I told you they were going to score. I told you. Look at that. We've got fans of all hues in the one girl is so emotional. We've got tears of joy. This is what it's all about. Enjoying this.
Yeah,
It comes
but it's
off
actually the keeper who kind of loses his place, but it's a great ball in, actually. The ball is really nice, and it's swirling around. It's Kessie who misses the big chance just 2-3 minutes ago. And, you know, it's been a great sustained period of pressure, this, from the Ivorians, who've had, you know, 3-4 good efforts in just a few minutes, and they deserve their equaliser, Peter, really. I mean, and once again, the comeback kings are back in the game.
Well, okay, we got two things to talk about here. Number one, Kosunu earned that corner with that effort, which was not an easy save. I mean, Nabali was not expecting that, and he might have been screened. So our Bundesliga boy earned that corner for Cote d'Ivoire. And secondly, our friend Trost Ekong, what was he doing there? Who was he marking? He was just watching the ball, and he got in his own keeper's way. You can't do that.
Yeah, that was pretty poor marking. Yeah, I mean, we see a lot of goals from corners in the Bundesliga too, but there's also been 2 in this final. Obviously, the first one from a miscleared corner, and then the second one from directly from a corner. So yeah, corners clearly doing the damage in the AFCON as well as in the Bundesliga. So yeah, it's obviously now, I mean, the second half has just been really good from Cote d'Ivoire, from me. You know, they've been really good. They've created so many chances, and they deserve to be level. In fact, over the course of the match, they've probably been quite easily the better team, in truth. But I mean, nobody can deny this has been their best performance of the tournament for me. Would you concur with that, Peter? I mean, they've really turned up for this one, the Ivorians, haven't they?
I told you they were going to score, and I think they're going to score again. I don't think we're even going to extra time here. They're going to ride this momentum. You watch. As we see Ian checking in, I'd like to give a shout out to Ian and say that I was recently Mark was introducing me to some of the ground hopping work that Ian does for Over the Bar, and I really enjoyed those vlogs a great deal. And now I have to look up the player that he's referring to. Semi Ajayi,
I know you're a Rotherham United fan, so I guess Semi Ajayi used to play for Rotherham. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, very much appreciated the work, Ian, that goes into those vlogs. You know, obviously myself and Peter tried to do some as well, but we get obviously some of your vlogs get absolutely massive view numbers, so it's fantastic for the channel, and thanks for your continued work. Actually, his latest one went out yesterday, Crew versus Crawley. I just checked into that just before we went on air, actually. So yeah. Continue, keep it going, keep spreading that Over the Bar vibe as well. We love to see it, that's for sure.
Yeah, we do have there's another vlog that'll be released in the next couple of days. Unfortunately, Mark was unable to join me for my trip to watch Mainz Union, but I was able to film myself and film some very interesting scenes in the German fan blocks. And so I'm in the process of editing it now. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things to show in the stands on the German Bundesliga beat, and a lot of interesting songs to learn and things like that. We certainly enjoy putting them together as well. But thank you for checking in, Ian. I'm a big fan of your ground hopping. Well, from one ground hopping soul to another. I'm a big fan of work. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we've got a lot more of this coming for you as well. We plan on a big end to the season, you know, more and more live vlogs. We want to show you what the Bundesliga is all about. And obviously, you know, Ian's doing his bit from the aisle, so to speak, as well, with the lower league football, which I always said is the best part of football as well in England. For me, it's better than the Premiership and whatever. It's all about the lower leagues, because that's where you get the more kind of German league vibe, actually, in the lower leagues of English football. For me, and, you know, you get the real fans, really. With all due respect to any Premier League fans out there, you know, it's a great league. We all know the Premier League's the best in terms of football. Nobody's denying that. But I mean, when it comes to like real, you know, atmosphere and stuff, for me, like, it's the Bundesliga and lower league English football is really where it's at in most cases. But yeah, As for the match, it's 67 minutes on the clock and it's all hotting up, isn't it? Surely I can't get another prediction right, Peter. I went for 1-1, didn't I, as well? So it's I got the. I feel as though I didn't get enough credit for getting that 3-2 the other night to Leverkusen correct. But yeah, I think if I get another one right tonight, then I've got to start. I deserve my own betting site or something. I think, but yeah, obviously free kick. Yeah.
A good prediction.
Nigeria. Oh, sorry. Say it again.
No, I was just complimenting you and Rory on the prediction show.
But just as Nigeria come forward for the first time in a while after that onslaught from Cote d'Ivoire, which obviously led to the equaliser, it's going to be a free kick coming in now from the Nigerians in a good position out on their left-hand side. They're going to swing in an in-swinger here. Probably looking for Osimhen. Oh, and it is Osimhen who wins it, but it's Troost Ekong again who gets his head on it, but heads it way over this time. Mm-hmm. And it was actually a free header there. He should have done a bit better with that one. I think he didn't realise the ball was going to come to him, and it just kind of came off his shoulder a little bit there. So he mistimed his jump. But yeah, absolutely fascinating this one, isn't it now, Peter? I mean, everything's, on the line here in the last 20 minutes of the AFCON. Glory is to be won, isn't it?
Well, unless I've missed something, have Cote d'Ivoire even made a substitution yet? They've not.
They're just doing it now, actually. Serge Aurier is going off, which is somewhat surprising because he's been a good captain for this team, I think.
Okay. So the captain
he's going off.
Yeah, it's been given then to Gradle. Well, why not?
Yeah, our mate. His longevity is just incredible, really. I really couldn't believe it when I saw him on the lineup today because I was like, is this a flashback to 2010 or something? But yeah, there is going to be a couple of substitutions, actually. I'll bring you up to date with them in a minute. I think it's going to be the hero from the Mali match, actually, Diakite, who's going to come on, actually. It's going to be him, and Diakite is on, and who's the other one? We've not got the update here on DAZN yet.
I think, I just saw Gradle. I thought he was snapping on the skipper's armband there. I'm not exactly sure.
But surely he's not gone off now, has he? But Diakite is definitely. It is Gradle who's gone off as well. So Gradle and Aurier, and it's Singo and Diakite on.
Okay, so it was right. There was some confusion there. As a matter of fact, Gradle didn't quite understand what was going on. Okay. Yeah, that was
the armband was initially passed to him from Aurier. Aurier obviously realized he was going off. Then he passed it to Gradle, and then Gradle realized he was going off as well. Okay. So we've just had 3 captains in the last minute, basically, for the Ivorians. I'm not sure who ended up getting the armband in truth, but.
Okay, so Singo is. I'm not familiar with him at all. I think I don't even know who he plays for. But if he's coming off, I mean, he's listed as a defender on the roster. So if we have Singo coming on for Gradle and Aurier, because Diakite is an attacker. Okay, all right. So it could be like for like.
He plays for Monaco, actually, Singo. So he's another young up and coming startlet from Monaco. He's only 23 years of age, and it seems as though he plays relatively regularly for the Monaco team. So, yeah, definitely a player of some kind of caliber as well. But he is a fullback. You were right on that one.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, you get a really good look at the Ivorian shape here on DAZN's coverage. I mean, it's well, now we've got a front 4 basically. Okay, why not? I mean, we're going for the win at this point. All right, so you're going to throw Diakite up there, along with Haller and Adringa, and Kessie as well, I think, because he's worth a shot there. And this is Kosunu on a forward run again, doing that. He does it often for club. Haller touch out wide, and cross comes in. Yes.
Kosunu, just as the Nigerians break as well now. They go wide. The game's opening up a little bit more now. I think partly due to the Ivorian shape, which is basically gung-ho at the minute. Really. They want to win the game inside the 90 minutes, which is a little bit surprising considering the success they've had, later on in matches as well. But it was a poorly laid pass there from the Nigerians to give possession back to Ivory Coast, who once again come through Adingra, who's been the main attacking outlet for. But again, Haller has really struggled at times. Actually, he seems to have lost his pace a lot. This season, I don't know. He's not an old player, is he? But he really seems to have lost. I know he's never been a fast player, but nowadays he's a very, very slow player. I would say that much. But it's that is an issue for him. He struggled to get himself in the game much, really, the big man. Although he's the kind of player that given a chance, he will take it. Although again, the Ivorians come forward here. Sorry, Peter.
I mean, there was that chance early on that was, well, it wasn't the greatest service, but that it just sort of like bounced past him. I think that was in like the 3rd or 5th minute. Let's not forget how little he's played for club this season, how he also got, we talked about this at the start, how he was sort of thrown into the tournament cold. That was quite difficult for him. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think... Yeah, he probably goes the full 90 here and maybe the full 120 because there's not a lot of other options that Faye has in attack there. Let's see. Oh, there's one. That's well over his head, that service. But they do maintain possession. Looking at another cross into the box here. No, you got to put it in the air, son. What are you doing? Crossing on the ground at this stage in the game. That's you can't do that. But we've got some sustained pressure here from the second ranks, and the game will open up. We should be in for a very, very good finish for these last.
Great play from the Ivorians again. Oh, it's Haller! Oh, he went for the overhead kick, and it was inches wide. It looked in on DAZN. Wow! Again, great wing play, and the Ivorians have been brilliant from the wings. Every single time they've had a chance to get the ball in, they've always got a good cross in. And they did it once again here after some good interchange play. The ball came in, it was headed back, and then it was, wow, that would have been some winner for the AFCON. But I think it went quite easily wide in the end. But on the TV, it looked closer than it actually was. But I thought we were going to see a Sebastian Haller overhead kick winner in the AFCON final there, Peter.
That would have been fantastic, and that would have made for a wonderful story. I'd be a very, very busy man tomorrow morning working at Bully News on that. But it was a nice attempt at an artistic finish. I guess, what would you call that in sort of my Denglish mixed German English footballing parlance? You would call that like a tricycle kick. I mean, it's not a full overhead bicycle.
You could call it a bicycle kick
a bicycle is a 180-degree angle, but if they do it at a 90-degree angle, you call that a tricycle.
I think in English we just normally call it a bicycle. We're not so exact as you German guys, you know what I mean? But I think it was. We will call it a bicycle. I think, but it's. I've never heard of the tricycle used. If anyone's heard of a tricycle kick used in English, then please let me know. But I personally have never heard it. Normally, we either call it an overhead kick or a bicycle kick, typically. Yeah. But the game is fantastically poised as we go for the second cooling break. Obviously, we are having these cooling breaks, which is quite crazy because it is still technically winter in Ivory Coast, but it just proves what a hot country it is in that part of the world,
Indeed. Actually, do you know?
Peter, obviously you lived in Africa. I mean, how did you deal with the heat over there?
Well, in Dar es Salaam, it actually wasn't that bad. I mean, that was in East Africa. It was not all that far from the equator, but I was there in May, June, July, and it wasn't scorching hot. It wasn't particularly hot. It was relatively warm, but do you know what the German word for a bicycle kick is?
I actually don't. I've not heard that.
It's a wonderful German word. Wonderful. Fallrückzieher. Fallrückzieher. It is. So yes.
Like, I guess the direct translation would be like Oberkopf or something, but you don't say that. No.
No. It's Fallrückzieher.
Okay. That's a good one.
Nice, good German word, because it's literally translates to like a back fall kick, which is kind of what it is. you know.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's more exact. I don't know why we call it the bicycle kick in English, really, because it's not really like a bike. I can kind of get it, but the overhead kick makes more sense. But yeah, bicycle kick. But I think my favorite German terminology in football is how they call the post the aluminium. I absolutely love that one because in England we never call it that. But now I always call it the aluminium, even in English. And like everyone says, what do you mean the aluminium? I'm like, the post, of course, because, in England we call it the woodwork, but it's old fashioned because posts are no longer made out of wood. You know what I mean?
Precisely.
So
I always was curious about that because I was always, when you watch like English football and they say, "Oh, it shaved the woodwork," I'm like, goalposts aren't made out of wood anymore.
Yeah, it's classic Britain wanting to be old school. I think basically in most cases, yeah. But I think it's
cool is that from somebody who speaks English in the American parlance. The way to pronounce that is aluminum, not aluminium.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that is clear. But English and German, we say it in the same way. Aluminium. Yeah, it's the same in Britain. We also say aluminium. Yeah,
we call it an Alu-Treffer. As a matter of fact, they shorten it. Germans do a lot and just say the Alu. He hit the Alu. Hat Alu
yeah. But it's a great. It was one that always caught on for me. That I always thought it was cool how they said the aluminium. Yeah. It's just as a shot comes in there, I'm not sure if that was legal, but yeah, it was quite a nice shot. This coach looks so eccentric for Nigeria, by the way. I often wonder how some of these coaches get appointed for these African teams because his record is hardly stellar in truth. He won only 1 out of his 10 games in charge of Venezuela before being unceremoniously sacked. The next thing he ends up with a pretty good job as Nigeria coach as well. So, yeah. But, he's done well in the tournament. They're still in there and kicking well into the final here. Just as the free kick comes in, went through everyone and it's ended up in the hands of the Ivorian keeper Fofana. So, yeah, this is really starting to get a bit nervy now. I've been so disappointed with Osimhen, I've got to be honest. I think when he plays on the continent, he seems as though maybe he feels as though he's a little bit above this level or something. I don't know. But he talks too much and doesn't play enough when he plays for Nigeria, from what I've seen so far.
Well, I'm glad that we didn't get him in the Bundesliga because, well, first of all, we wouldn't have Harry Kane in the Bundesliga if we didn't. Then as a lot of the viewers of this pod are apt to point out, as pertains to Harry Kane, how sad is it that he may not get a trophy?
Yeah.
I get a trophy.
We call it the Harry Kane curse in England, because it just seems as though he just can't. He's never even won a Super Cup or a Charity Shield or anything. Yeah, and it's just absolutely incredible. The guy turns 31 this summer. He's lost more finals than. It's a goal! It's a goal for Ivory Coast. Is it the Allaire winner or is it an own goal? But once again, it comes in from the side, and the Ivorians have got the lead as the whole of Abidjan goes absolutely wild. It could be Allaire, but my first thought was that it might be an own goal. Actually, that one, but it's Allaire who's celebrating. Let's just give it to him, But it was a really nice goal and the deserved lead from the Ivory Coast, Peter.
He has done it. You knew that they were going to do it. I told you they were going to score. I didn't necessarily know that it was Haller that was going to buy. I didn't necessarily know anything. I don't have a crystal ball. But, I absolutely, excuse me, let me let this cat out for a second. Yeah. Yeah, shut up. Daddy's watching football. Wow. Kanu is very, very, very much unhappy there. As we see,
that's an absolute monster play. He's been unbelievable, really, and it looks like Allaire who gets the clip, which is a beautiful moment. Yeah, but Adingwood is the man of the match in this tie. There's no question about that. He's been unbelievable. It's a beautiful assist from him, the young Brighton man, and it's just come off the top of his massive leg there, Allaire, and it's gone into the back of the net. The Nigerians are absolutely disconsolate. But they've not done enough since going 1-0 ahead. They've just rested, and the Ivorians have been brilliant in the second half and fully deserve the lead for me, Peter.
Wow. Okay, so we got a bunch of talking points on that goal. Number one, what a finish that was. I mean, that was he saw that ball all the way, and he finished it with a what do you call that? A pike finish when you smack with the bottom of your studs like that. To pick that ball up, pike finish it with a first touch. That is incredible. Two, Trost Ekong was on the marking again. Our boy, who we had such high praise for at the beginning of this match, for his tournament, for his leadership skills, for his goal, for the opening goal in this match. And now he's blown the markings. Well, he blew the marking on that. Well, that was a tough one to mark. But he got in his keeper's way on the corner, on the Cote d'Ivoire equalizer. And something else I want to talk about. During the cooling break, while we were talking a little bit about pronunciation and everything like that, and that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that. That's why I enjoyed doing these watch-alongs with you so much, is that we have goof. There was a substitution. Iheanacho came on, the Man City and Leicester City star. Why is he not starting for this team?
Yeah, that is a bit weird, isn't it? Because didn't he score the winning penalty as well in the semi-final?
But I think so.
Yeah, I think he did. It was him. It was a bit odd because he was always a competent striker in the Premier League, but Nigeria now find themselves in a real pickle, although they are trying to push forward for the equaliser here. He takes him on well. There's been some great wing play in this final, by the way, and it's more from, I think, they can't stop him. In the end, it goes behind for a corner, but in the end, Kosunu does get the challenge in. But wow, that took a while to get him down, didn't it? Was it Moses Simon? I think it was, the young substitute. But it is a corner, and we know that corners have caused both teams problems so far in this match. There has been some great wing play in this final, really. I've enjoyed it. I think there's been a lot of great wing play. The fullbacks have had a hard time in general. But the wingers have generally, especially the Ivorian ones, have completely dominated the fullbacks. Just stay with me while this corner comes in from the Nigerians. It's very poor, although it's slight clearance, and it's going to go behind for another corner. I can't begin to think about how nervous the Ivorians must be right now because, they're on the verge of a famous victory here. And is that another corner? It's going to be a third corner in a row here now for the Nigerians. Ooh. Peter, it's squeaky bum time, as they would say in English.
Absolutely. I love that expression too. I absolutely love that expression.
Yeah, that's a proper British one, that is. Yeah.
Actually, who was that Congolese keeper who did like the bum scoot celebration? Oh God, I know it's going to drive me crazy all night long. I'm going to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. There was I think it was a Congolese keeper who he did every time his team would score, he would scoot around on his bum in front of the goal for
Wow, I don't remember that. He was the DR Congo, the DR.
I think so. Yeah. He did like this. I know. I'm fairly certain he was he represented Congo DRC, but he did that. Anyways, I mean, look, it's very cautious and desperate defending there. They conceded 3 corners. That one was a header out. I mean, did you see when Kosunu conceded the corner? He had both hands behind his back and went forward, like a flat-footed 70-year-old. Very, very careful point there. That was.
It was. Just as Nigeria make a double substitution again, I think it's Moffy and Aribo coming on as well. Aribo is also a player who plays in England too. I believe he played for Southampton. I'm not sure if he still does, but he definitely did. So there's a lot of quality on this squad, but they're running out of time. And, as we get into 86 minutes now, although Fofana is down, he's been a key player for the Ivorians this tournament, number 6 for the Ivorians. He's down. There's probably going to be quite a lot of stoppage time, so stay with us, guys, because we're not going anywhere as things stand here. But we are getting a few subs now from the Nigerians, as mentioned. I think they've made all 5 subs now with those 2 as well. So they're going in for the proverbial juggler in this case. But it's not working out so far. I think the Ivorians are doing well here. They're trying to take the sting out of the game after those corners. Fofana's gone down potentially with cramp. Although that's not a concern because they've still got 3 substitutions in the bank. The hosts. Looks as though Allaire is going to go off, so it's pretty much his final effort. Fofana's ended up getting booked as well as he hobbles off. there is going to be a late substitution for the Ivorians too. Were the Ivorians at the World Cup last year, Peter? Can you remember, or did they make it?
I largely, like most, I actually like most German footballing ultras, I did not necessarily boycott the entire tournament, but that was the first time. You know, I've covered all of these AFCONs, writing about them as a blogger. That's how I got my start. I was just a football hobby blogger, and I've been covering every major international tournament as a blogger since 2002. And that included the World Cup, that included the Africa Cup of Nations, that included all of the women's World Cups and Euros, as well as the Asia Cup. And one time I branched out to do the Copa America. Never covered CONCACAF or Oceania, because why? But that was I actually did boycott. I was really unhappy with the fact that we had the Qatar World Cup, so I didn't watch a lot of it. You know, I mean, if there was something relevant for German football, I would write about it. But yeah, I mean, that was a hard thing to do, I have to say, Mark. I mean, knowing that the World Cup was going on and not watching it.
Yeah, for me, that will prove a challenge too far, to be honest. Yeah, it's just like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's I know that people had the kind of grievances with it, but for me, I still watched it. Yeah, but I can't remember whether Ivory Coast were there or not, so maybe I wasn't watching as closely. No, I don't think they were actually. Yeah, I think they got shot. I seem to remember they got shot by Ghana in the qualification, which was kind of unexpected.
I can tell you that
Ghana.
The first World Cup that Cote d'Ivoire qualified for was the 2006 World Cup in Germany. And that was when Didier Drogba was in his prime, and that
and the
was
Touré brothers too.
Yes, the Touré brothers, and they were the Touré brothers there in 2006?
I think they would have been. Yeah, I think the older Touré Kolo was definitely there. Maybe Yaya was just getting to his prime. I think. Although as Nigeria come forward here, they're gonna. Oh, what a block! That's a massive block in there, though. It looks as though it's Kosunu again. Who's been an absolute monster this second half. His second half, he has been a monster. But the Nigerians come forward again as the Cote d'Ivoire team tires. As I mentioned, they are quite an old team. And they've taken most of the old boys off, from what I can see, although a stupid foul there ends up with Ivory Coast breaking a yellow card for Ola Aina. So, yeah. We're about to head into extra injury time now, Peter, and time is badly running out for the Nigerians, isn't it? I couldn't get my words out there.
It's an exciting game. You're losing your voice. Obviously, there's a lot to commentate on here. Actually, I don't believe it was Kosunu who blocked it.
It was Ndika, maybe. Was it Ndika?
This is look. Could Bundesliga fans have envisioned better here? Kosunu earns the corner that allows them to equalize. Haller scores what, for right now, is the game-winning goal. And Dika just made a massive block, and Kosunu with a massive clearance. As you see, they've got a chance to break here. They've got a chance. Oh, he played that.
One thing I will say, though, I've really enjoyed it. It's been a great finalist. I think it's been like, especially the second half has been very, very entertaining, and like nobody could say the game has flopped. It's been an entertaining game. The Ivorians have especially really turned up for this final, and nobody could deny that they deserved the win after this performance. I think they've been superb, really, in the game. They've had like 7-8 shots on target, a lot of chances, and 2 goals, 2 good goals as well. Both goals were really nice finishes and crosses. So yeah, although the Nigerians, there are 7 minutes added on, so they've still got another 6 minutes or so to salvage this year. I wouldn't mind another 30 minutes of this, to be honest. I think it's been really entertaining. Although it would be nice to see the Cote d'Ivoire celebrate in front of their own fans after what has been. These Ivorian fans will never forget this tournament for the rest of their life. Really, they will never forget this one.
I mean, this is in the AFCONs that I've covered. This is by far the best final. I mean, we're talking about at the beginning how finals are often cagey, low-scoring affairs, and that was the case in the World Cup for the longest time too, until the last 2 finals, until France-Croatia and France-Argentina. Okay, I watched the World Cup final. I mean, I wasn't going to miss the World Cup final. I mean, as I said, I was talking about this at the beginning. The 2017 final between Cameroon and Egypt was actually good. It also finished by a 2-1 scoreline. But the 2013 final, which Nigeria won, it was just 1-0, I think. The 2015 final between Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, there weren't even any goals in it. I mean, there was that dramatic shootout, but I mean, it was a 0-0 draw through 120 minutes. It reminded you of that terrible World Cup final in 1994 in the
yeah. Just as another free kick in a good position here from Nigeria. This is big now. This is where, and it's an awful free kick. He doesn't beat the first man in the wall, and yeah, it looks as though the Ivorians will get over the line. Osimhen, the one disappointment to this final has been the pretty much no-show of Osimhen. I can't remember one moment where he did anything good. He's been left on until the end, but he's just not showing up. Although a good ball comes from the keeper there. They recycle the ball. Oh, jeez. Oh, nervy moments now. Just as the Ivorians break now, they need to keep possession here. Maybe they can get a third on the break here. Although it's well intercepted. You just need to keep the ball at this stage. You don't need a third goal at the end of the day. But, it's been a really open final. It's very entertaining. A lot of good chances. Quality as well. I think, all three goals had elements of quality, but the winning goal was genuinely a top draw goal, really. The assist from Adingra and then the finish from Haller was a brilliant way to win any tournament, really. And that's
a goal that's so worthy of winning a tournament. It really is. But this is, apart from the 2017 final, this is the best AFCON final that I've ever witnessed in all of the tournaments that I've covered. Yeah. This is. I'm going to have to. Yeah, Haller is going to be the story of the Bundesrepublik tomorrow. Kicker's probably already going to print, but I'm going to have to at the kiosks. I'll have to go for an afternoon run to the kiosks to get a few late papers, because he's going to be a huge story in Germany tomorrow. How he's done this with that pike finish, with his long hair that he hasn't cut since therapy. Sebastian Haller is back, and he's contesting for a starting spot on the Dortmund side.
He's got to deal with Füllkrug, though, who's not exactly having a bad run himself, But it is a great story. It really is. And Kosunu in the second half has been top drawer as well, really. The way he's brought his Leverkusen form to this final. He was absolutely brilliant in the game. We are into the last 2 minutes now, and you can even see Ivorian fans crying there in the crowd. It's just, although we are going to get one more long punt forward as the 2 minute from Nwabali, the massive Nigerian goalkeeper, is going to punt the ball forward. This is real nervous moments now, and the ball is right on top of the area, but it's well won. It's not out yet. They've recycled it. A terrible ball there, though, from, I think, Ola Aina. But it has just about been kept in there. And it's going to be another punt forward from the big man here at the back. I can see Fofana, who's been a key player in this team, is on the touchline, desperate to get this over. Truce Akon with an awful header there, though. After all the credit we gave him, saying he was a shoo-in for player of the tournament, he's been a dud the second half, really, hadn't he? So, proves the commentator's curse can happen. Yeah, directly. But we are about to get into the last minute now, and it's another long throw from the Nigerians. But again, it's, Kosunu and Ndika. It is a world-class centre-half partnership, ultimately. By the way, Ndika we will be seeing again potentially for Lazio on Wednesday too. That would be some comeback, wouldn't it? If he comes back after winning that and starts for Lazio. I think he is at Lazio. I looked that up, Peter, actually, and we couldn't remember which Italian team he went to, but it was actually Lazio where he went. So what a comeback that will be if he rocks up against Bayern Munich on Wednesday.
Ndika went to AS Roma, not Lazio.
Did he? Okay.
Yes.
Well, let me double check. He did, yeah, you're right. It's been a long day. Come on, guys.
Maybe
I was getting too excited there, for that potential. But it won't be.
after the end of a long day on that Leverkusen watch along, I forgot Leverkusen's Pokal win and their European Cup win when I said they never won anything ever. I mean, to be fair, that was before they were even Bayern 04 Leverkusen. Back then they were TSV Leverkusen. It was there were two Bayer teams. It was a different era. But I messed up. I mean, look, mistakes happen. I mean, that's why
it's over. The final is over. Yeah, and it is Ivory Coast, who are the champions of Africa. Wow. Just look at these scenes. Serge Aurier is on the floor crying. The entire team is crying. Wow, the scenes there is just absolutely unbelievable, really. Look at those scenes in the crowd. Like the whole stadium is wearing that orange, that fantastic orange kit, which has become synonymous with the Ivory Coast over the last 10, 15 years, really, since they, became a footballing powerhouse, really, I would say. Probably from 2006, as you mentioned, Peter, was when they really hit the world scene. But wow, look at those scenes, Peter. I mean, how much would you give to be there right now? It must be amazing.
I mean, I get emotional at every AFCON final, to be honest with you. I mean, I know that it's such a huge deal. It's such a big event, and when Nigeria in 2013 that I covered, Cote d'Ivoire in 2015. Cameroon in 2017. I was very, very disappointed that Senegal dropped the final to Algeria in 2019, and then Senegal in 2021. I mean, just to be there, I'm just simply going to have to go next time. I mean, I'm not. No more excuses. No more. I have covered. I simply have to go because to be there right now. This is, as I said at the beginning of the pod. Vacation. Everybody gets the day off in Cote d'Ivoire tomorrow. Everyone. Everyone. Nobody has to go to work. Nobody has to do anything tomorrow. They're going to have their parade tomorrow. They're not going to schedule this stuff. They're going to hit the streets and have the parade first thing tomorrow morning. The players probably aren't even going to get any sleep.
Yeah, maybe even tonight. So forget tomorrow. Why not start in 2 hours? But I can guarantee not many people in Abidjan or the whole of the Ivory Coast will be sleeping tonight. They'll be out on the streets.
The party will go on nonstop with the car horns till dawn. Now they're going to let the players get some rest, but it won't be long until the people out on the streets demand to see the team, and the team, after a couple hours of sleep, they're going to have the parade then. And as I said. Yeah. Nobody has to go to work. Nobody has to go in the office. Nobody has to man the kiosk. It's vacation for everyone in Cote d'Ivoire tonight. And what an incredible story.
Let's not forget, this is what African football is about as well. I mean, this is a country that's been torn by civil war for many years over the past decade, and now all of a sudden you see these celebrations. The unifying, strength that this will have on the country is just amazing as well. And I think this is one of the things we love about football: the fact that football can bring people together and things. And I think the fact that Ivory Coast is now going to be celebrated in this way after the awful times they've had in the last 4 to 5 years with that civil war and things. It's an amazing scene to see the people crying and loving the country again after this win, Peter.
Of course, and you'll notice, and this is the case with both Cote d'Ivoire and Nigeria. I mean, look, Africa is a land of arbitrary borders. Actually, the Cote d'Ivoire conflict that's a long time ago. That was about 12 years ago. To answer the comment there, we were talking about that in 2006. That there was a civil war in Cote d'Ivoire when they qualified for their first World Cup in 2006. That's history now, of course. Africa being a land of arbitrary borders. Drawn by colonial occupying powers means that there's a lot of ethnic strife in these countries. And you'll notice that as Cote d'Ivoire fans were celebrating, this is the case actually more so in Nigeria than it is in Cote d'Ivoire, you have different religions. I mean, in Nigeria, as a matter of fact, it's the way the political system is supposed to work is that, Muslims and Christians and animists, they switch off. They have like a power sharing agreement. Yes, Nigeria's ended in 1963. As a matter of fact, Nigeria's civil war, that was the civil war for Biafra. Interesting historical tidbit there. I did a research project on that way back when I was a student. But anyways, you saw some of the Cote d'Ivoire players hitting down the pitch and praying in the Islamic style, whereas others have different religions and things like this. I mean, the unifying power of football, irrespective of whether or not there's actually an active conflict going on in the country. And we mentioned the fact that, either conflict or some of the controversy with Morocco not allowing sub-Saharan Africans into their country in 2017 forces the rescheduling or forces the relocation of these tournaments. AFCON has really come a long way. When I started following African football, you never knew if the tournament was going to be held in the country where it was initially scheduled to be held. Sometimes you get this to be the case where players don't necessarily get their bonuses or something like this. Let's look, the 2013 tournament, for crying out loud. You remember the attack on the Togo team bus? Emmanuel Adebayor was on that team. I mean, we had there was still a lot of problems in the AFCON, not 10, 13 years ago. But now look at the show that Cote d'Ivoire has put on. Look at that stadium. Look at that at those fans. Look at everything. This has been an amazing tournament. It's been an incredible story. How Cote d'Ivoire was able to get back from this. Barely, I mean, qualifying out of the group as we've said this so many times on this pod, but it bears repeating. We've been talking for 2.5 hours. We're going to repeat ourselves at times. I mean, the last third place team permitted to advance. That incredible comeback in the round of 16 to knock out the defending champions. Then the 2 shorthanded goals against Mali. Then the upset with Haller scoring against Congo DR, him scoring again in this one here. The storylines are incredible. I mean,
it's definitely been an AFCON that no one's going to forget. This one, I mean, obviously last year, the last time it was a story between Mane and Salah, but I mean, this final has just been superb. The tournament's been great, and the stadiums have been great crowds throughout the tournament. The Ivorians have really backed this tournament, and it's just been fantastic. And let's just hope the one in Morocco in 18 months is just as good as well, if it is indeed a summer tournament as well. But obviously the North Africans have got a lot of improving to do as well, because they've been poor the last 2 or 3 AFCONs, really, apart from obviously Egypt. Egypt have made a couple of finals, but aside from that, your Moroccans, your Tunisians, your Algerians. Although Algeria won, what was it, 3 episodes ago now? Or
2019 Algeria won.
But the last 2, the North Africans have been really poor.
Well, Egypt, I think they were the 3-time defending champions before the Port Said Stadium disaster.
Yeah.
And so Egypt, they were the kings. The pharaohs were the that's probably redundant to say that, but they were the kings of Africa. So they were the 3-time defending champions, and then Port Said happened, and that blew the whole confederation apart because the kings were dethroned. And you saw Zambia win in 2012, and you saw Nigeria in 2013, Cote d'Ivoire 2015. Algeria is the only one, the only North African side that has won in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 AFCONs now. I mean, I personally, as somebody who lived in sub-Saharan Africa, I'm a little partial to the sub-Saharan teams. I think that, I tend to, you almost, you feel like they should have their own confederation, maybe, because it's kind of, it's kind of strange, but oh well. I mean, it makes it interesting, as Sebastian Haller is conducting his post-match interview, I assume in French. That's wow. God, what a story. Yeah. What a story. I mean, and German football fans couldn't be more tickled. I mean, Our two German club representatives, after not logging a single minute of action in the group phase, were part of this team's miraculous comeback under their interim trainer.
Yeah, it's been a true story. I mean, the streets will never forget, as they say. No one will ever forget this tournament. No one will ever forget this Ivorian team's victory. And, nobody can take it away from them, especially after today's brilliant performance. I mean, for all the kind of adversity they've had in the tournament, nobody can doubt this performance. If you look at the stats, 8 shots on target, 18 shots. I mean, they've just dominated the final, and they've really, really, everything's come together, and the stars have aligned in this final. And they've kept the trophy in Ivory Coast, haven't they? So fantastic story. Can't wait for the next one in 18 months as well. But yeah, I'm getting a little tired now. It is past 11 o'clock over here.
I know. Well, tired people, what happens is that tired people make errors, and that's how Mark got the 2006 Civil War mixed up.
My bad for that. My bad on that one, guys.
People make errors. It happens. But I will mention this in closing that this was the best AFCON I think I've ever seen. This was the best final, even better than the 2017 final. And one thing that was kind of rough about the summer AFCON in Egypt in 2019 was that it was not all that well attended. And, it was summer in Egypt. So I don't know if we'll do a summer in Morocco one. We'll see. In any case, wherever it is, I will watch it. I will definitely watch it.
Definitely.
Hey, Mark, look at this. We've had 2 incredible matches on our watch-alongs. Leverkusen 3, Stuttgart 2.
We keep getting lucky, don't we? Yeah. I mean, obviously the games we attend live as well have been entertaining. So let's just hope that, we're going to get a big scoring one next week as well, which will bring to you, hopefully at some stage over the next couple of weeks, our watch along to our vlog soon. You can see I'm getting tired, guys. Okay, guys, but thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks especially to the ones that stuck through us all the way through. It's been an absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed doing this tonight. Congratulations again to Ivory Coast. But yeah, if you enjoyed what you saw, we're not actually an AFCON channel. We're more Bundesliga and English football. So check out our Twitter stream at Over the Bar being at Over the Bar Extra, and also Village Footy 20 as well. And also don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe too. But yeah, this was brilliant. I really enjoyed this tonight. And obviously, you've not got long to wait until our next episode as well, which is going to happen tomorrow evening at 9:30 Central European time. So yeah, thank you very much, Peter. Thanks for everyone who watched. And we'll see you again tomorrow about the same time. See you then, guys.